Listen, Gabby, you're here because you've got a new book out,
Yes.
which is entitled The First Half, an inspiring and deeply personal sort of memoir of your 25 years in the media, but also your
I go right back
as
to
well.
being a child. And I guess a lot of the childhood stuff is related to sport because one of the kind of big moments, kind of eureka moments, was watching the Olympics in '84, and I kind of fell in love with the Olympics and Olympic sport, but also having a dad who's a football manager and footballer. My life was steeped in sport and moving around the country, moving around the world because of his job. So it was great to write. I enjoyed writing it a lot and revisiting those periods of my life and professional life, and it's, the likes of Ali McCoist pops in as well. My time at ITV with him.
A lot of people say when they write a book about themselves, it's quite cathartic. Did you find that process when you were doing it?
Yeah, certain periods of my life were, and were quite cathartic to write about. Some were very, good fun, retelling of stories, and I really enjoy writing, so the process I enjoyed. The hardest part, actually, you write the book, you put it away, eventually you give it to a publisher and say, do you want my book? And then you've got to go around and keep talking about it all the time, and that's harder than writing it, I think, actually.
Yeah. Gav, I tell you what I want to ask you. I mean, you talk about people writing books and they use the word cathartic. I get that. However, been lucky enough to know you and Kenny and the family for a long, long time. It must have been incredibly emotional at times to write the book, was it not?
Yeah, I think I opened the chapter that the book opens with, actually, is the day that my brother Daniel died. And I didn't intend to start with that. But when I was writing, it felt like a seminal day because there was a kind of before and after. And life, I think, me as a person, obviously you change through something like that. The family changed, the dynamic changes. And that was very emotional to write. And I did have days where I wrote it in lockdown and the kids were on Zooms doing schooling, and we'd come together for dinner in the evening and the kids would be like, are you okay? Was today a tough one? Because you're revisiting some very sad episodes, but also some really happy and funny episodes as well. So.
Is there some things when you're writing a book that I've spoken to people about when they've written books, and people have asked me, would you write a book, that you don't want to put in? Do you know things that you're like, I don't know if I should put that in, maybe private to yourself?
Yeah, it's up to you, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think how much you reveal. But I did. I'm quite an honest person, and I didn't want to kind of I didn't want to do like a glorified CV, and here's my life and look how great it is, because actually social media kind of masks over quite a lot for people's lives, doesn't it? And people look very shiny and everything looks great. And the truth is, I'm 49. When I was growing up, when you took a picture, you didn't get to kind of doctor it. You looked rubbish if that was the that was and so I think that kind of is a metaphor for how I kind of feel about we should be honest about the bumps in the road. When things go wrong, how you respond to them, what happens. We all know in sport the best learnings come from the most disappointing performances sometimes, and if everything's perfect, you're not going to grow, you're not going to learn. And I wanted a book that my kids as teenagers could read and see that they're growing up in a time where perfection seems to be the aim, and that's an unreasonable thing to aim for sometimes. So I felt I had to be, Gabby, I felt I had to be honest about things.
Perfect.
Gabby, tell me, do you fully appreciate, I wouldn't have you down as a trailblazer, but you're certainly an example to younger females getting into the industry. I mean, specifically, I'm thinking obviously Natalie and certainly Laura Woods. It's amazing talking to them. Clearly, you have been a major factor in their careers and somebody to look up to. Do you appreciate that? To me, you're my friend, and I always love you for that. But sometimes we do take our eyes off the ball. Do you appreciate that?
I think at the time when you're doing the job, I started out at Sky and then I moved to ITV, and I know when I went to ITV, a lot was made of the fact that I was the first woman to present a football match on terrestrial telly, and that because obviously it was of interest to the press, and you just Ali, we just got on with it, didn't we? And there weren't many women on telly and doing sport and football in particular, but I had a very, especially when I was at ITV and I was doing a lot more kind of high-profile stuff with bigger audiences. I felt very lucky to be doing something I loved and just working in an environment that was stimulating and largely positive, and with guys like Ali and, Andy Townsend and, some great producers we had there. Sure, now you look around a sports kind of newsroom and you look around things like the Match of the Day office, and there are so many more women working behind the cameras, which is really important as well, in editorial positions. And the landscape has changed, but I think at the time you're just getting on and doing what you're doing, and you don't really necessarily.
Did you feel there was more pressure on you though?
I think I did feel that I had to be, get everything perfect, and I wanted to get everything just right and not make any mistakes. And actually, our old boss at ITV, a guy called Brian Barwick, he once said to me, Gabby, people quite like it, when presenters slip up occasionally, or and Ali's made a living out. I'm joking. And,
you're not wrong.
but he said, be human, and he said also, don't, I was guilty. I think early part of my career, every question was loaded with facts because I wanted the viewer to know that I knew stuff and I was confident about it. They said, look, just they've got you, don't worry, they understand you. But he was also very good at advising me about not diversifying too much at the beginning. Stick to the main things, stick to sports so that people can trust you, which seems quite, when you look back now, seems a bit patronising, but actually at the time I was the only female doing it, so I think he had a very good point.
Well, I think Ali's right though to say that you are a trailblazer.
Oh, stop it.
No, it's true. I mean, I know I look up to you still, and really? What you've done is incredible.
You're very kind,
for us all.
You. Well, Natalie, I'm just thrilled that there are so many more women, and it's so much more diverse.
I was going to say that as well, just quickly before we have to break. That you must be proud now how many women you see on, like,
absolutely.
You watch the Champions League, and there's always a woman on, and different sports.
Absolutely. And you know what that's
boxing,
done as well.
darts.
I mean, we've come off this fantastic summer for the Lionesses. That has also given confidence to young girls in terms of doing sport, and this is the most important thing for me. We all start sport because we love it. None of us knew when we started sport as kids that we'd make a living out of it in any shape or form. And I think it's really important to be a kind of a role model of positivity in sport, so that kids think it's a place for them, and young girls think it's a place for them.
100%.
Before you go anywhere, Gabby,
do have to hit a break, Ali. Go on.
I know, but people don't realise Gabby's main job actually is looking after Kenny, and I can't believe you've left him in the house for this long himself.
You see, I was going to ask, what's next? Is it going to be another book or another single?
Well, I think the writing seems to be more my natural affinity, as you just heard there. But listen, never discount it. Ali and I are always available for weddings, bar mitzvahs and funerals.
Fabulous. Adding more strings to your bow. I love it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Lovely
So just a reminder, Gabby's new book, The First Half, is out now.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.